Good evening, City of San Marcos. Welcome. I am Greg Beal with Texas Disposal Systems here to talk to you about all things recycling. It's very exciting to talk to you all tonight. I know we scheduled this a few weeks back and nothing was working quite right, but here we are tonight to make everything work. All right. Let's start off and get going with everything. As you know, if you're watching on YouTube and you look in the comments section, the little title there, you can send in any questions you have. We'll do a little Q&A later, so you can put questions in the comment section on YouTube, or you can also click the link there on Facebook. Your preference, whatever you want to do on that. You can start sending before we even get to the Q&A, but we'll make sure to get as many questions as we can and make sure we answer them as best as possible. All right, so we're just going to start with a little presentation here, give you a little background on what Texas Disposal does, and a little background on recycling and resource use. So if my producer can pull up my PowerPoint, we're going to get started on that right away. All right, fantastic. So we're going to look at some materials here. We're going to look at, first we're going to start with one of our trucks. Here we go. Oh, look, there's Amy. Excellent. We'll talk to Amy later from San Marcos. I don't know why she's on screen. We'll talk to her later. Anyway, here are one of our rear load trucks that we use to pick up our residential service in San Marcos. You might see these come around. We also have side load trucks. Those are going to have a mechanical arm on the side that are going to lift your carts, dump them into the truck, and make sure they come to the right place. We're also going to talk about why it's important to recycle and different materials. Okay, so as you see here, there's a lot of products in our life. We use a lot of things every day, right? So if we didn't throw it away and if we didn't recycle it, it would all pile up and build up every day. My stupid slideshow stopped. And there it goes. So an artist actually did this photo series where he asked folks to just collect what they use most often and take a photo with it. So if we don't get rid of this stuff and recycle it, or where we put it in the cart, where does it go? Most people say, and when I was young, we would say, throw it away. But there really is no such place as away, right? It goes to a landfill. And this is our landfill in Creedmoor. That's off FM 1327. It's a very well-kept landfill. It's award-winning as far as environmentally sound. It's on a great spot of land where nothing can leak or get into the ground. You know, it's monitored by the TECQ, which is the Texas Environmental Commission, and we always get a full passing grade because we want to make sure we take care of our environment and keep Texas beautiful and clean. All right, I'm going to move on that. That's some pictures. So why does it matter to recycle and not just throw everything in the trash, right? Big hole in the ground, what's the big deal? Well, when you don't recycle and everything goes in the landfill, eventually that's going to cost more money because the waste is going to have to travel a lot further, right? That's going to create more emissions. And in the end, it's just the right thing to do, we think. We feel that you should recycle everything. So at Texas Disposal, we do three main streams of waste, right? So we do composting where a lot of brush and some food waste goes from our schools and food services. A materials recovery facility is where recycling goes, and the landfill. We'll do a little virtual tour of both facilities later to get a check of that. So anyway, everything we use and everything we do everything we use during our daily routines comes from somewhere from our earth, right? Natural resources. So we can either get them from raw materials or used recycled materials. Paper, for instance, come from trees. Our tin cans and metal come from the ground, and that's bauxite. That's what that is. And plastics come from petroleum. Now, that's no big deal, but what we have to do is we have to chop, dig, and drill to get that. So that takes a lot more effort, costs a little bit more money, and it'd be better just to reuse things we already have, right? So here are what we call recoverable resources. We have cans, bottles, and glass. Now, if we just put these in the landfill, they would last a really long time because the landfill is going to get covered up with dirt at the end of the day because that's the rules, right? So since nothing's going to decompose, it'll last for a long time. Metal cans last for about 500 years, plastic bottles about 450, and glass lasts almost 1,000,000 years. It just doesn't break down. That stuff is around for a very long time. So we want to make sure we reuse these things. It makes a really smart idea to do that, especially if you've seen lately with the aluminum cans, there's been a shortage, right? So make sure we put all those aluminum cans to recycling. That way they can get turned back into new materials. In fact, aluminum cans are one of my favorite recyclables. Number one, they're very lightweight. Number two, they can be recycled almost indefinitely, and they get recycled back into the same material once again. So we're going to move on to the next slide here and see what we got. Oh, actually, are we ready to talk to Amy? All right, if Amy is there, we're going to unmute her microphone and bring her up. We got Amy Kerwin. She works with the Resource Recovery Department in the city of San Marcos. Good evening. How are you, Amy?
Good evening. You're doing great.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us today. I wanted to talk about your efforts there with the Resource Recovery Department. I know you've been doing some auditing lately of residential carts. If you want to talk about that and tell me what you're finding and let the folks in the community know what they can do to be a better recycler.
Exactly. So currently we are evaluating our whole program with resource recovery. Back in 2010, we did a municipal solid waste comprehensive plan that was finalized in 2012. And with that, we were looking at, how do we divert more waste from going into the landfill? What are our biggest concerns on getting people to do all this stuff? And our number one goal out of all of it was education. So thank you very much for this opportunity for this educational outreach. The number two goal was diverting as much material as possible from the landfill. There are 6 goals, but I'm not going to go into all those right now. But this summer, what we've been doing is we have been auditing all of the recycle carts on the curb. And throughout the whole city, they're getting at least 3 to 4, at least 3. We're trying to maybe 4 shots of going through. We're looking in them. It's my team. There's about 6 of us. We are looking to see who all is actually participating, who all is not participating. If they are participating, how full is their cart? So we realize, where do we need to go with our program in the future? Currently, our recycling is serviced every other week. So do we need to look to go to every week? Is every other week too frequent? So we're looking at those. And then we're looking at what are our common contaminants, because we need to realize, how do we need to educate our citizens on the specific things that are happening in San Marcos to help decontaminate what's going into the MRF, the Materials Recovery Facility.
Mentioned, I've read some reports that, and I've heard from our folks that there's been an uptick in both landfill waste and recycling because everybody's at home now. Have you seen that since you started before and then during?
Definitely have seen an uptake in recycling, not just because people are home, but because we live in the fastest growing community in the region, or we are in the region that's the fastest growing in the nation. And in San Marcos, we have 3 big single family developments that are being built out right now, and a smaller one. The smaller one's almost complete, but then we're about to have another very large single family residential development start breaking ground and going into construction. So we are definitely seeing a lot of waste being generated in general.
Gotcha. Well, that's great economically. I know some folks like the probably small feel of San Marcos 20, 30 years ago, but I'm glad to see your city's growing and you'll be part of that whole loop from here to San Antonio and Austin and all that stuff. So that's great to hear. What were the most common contaminants? I know what we see at the MRF, and I like to message that out, but I'm just curious, what have you been seeing in these carts? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of plastic films, all kinds of plastic films, or soft plastic bags. So not quite grocery bags, but let's talk about pet food bags or soil and mulch bags. Those are other things we're finding a lot of, especially at the beginning of the summer into spring when people were out in their gardens. Then tanglers, we're seeing a lot of tanglers, and I hope you're going to talk about tanglers and how they're not good for MRFs. And tanglers like hoses and hangers. Hangers is a big deal because everybody is clearing out their closets while they're at home. And then to-go pizza boxes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the most common misconception is with recycling, and I was doing this before I got into the industry, was plastic. It's plastic. I would throw everything into the recycling bin, just hoping it would get recycled. But now that you mentioned with the hangers, they're made of a similar plastic like utensils, disposable utensils. And when all that stuff gets smushed together, we're going to show some videos later of the MRF, that just shatters. We can't collect that and really recycle that at all. Now, that's only at our facility, but with plastic films, there are a lot of resources to drop that off if folks want to be a super recycler. Just go online, or really HEB, Home Depot, any of your big retailers, they usually accept those plastic bags back and make sure that they go to the proper place and get recycled, which is great. Just go to your favorite web browser and type in local near me, put in your zip code, and it'll tell you where to go for that. I'm not advertising any folks, but I know that they do take those items.
But what I think people don't also realize is like bubble wrap or air pillows, the big plastic pillows, or even the blue and white Amazon shipping envelopes. Those can go with your plastic bags back to your major retailer.
That's correct. Yeah, it's not just the shopping bags, Amy. Thank you for mentioning that. It's any soft plastic film, right? I used to say if you can smash it, you can trash it, but hey, why not recover it? Make sure it goes to the right place. That's absolutely correct. So, folks, if you're listening out there, make sure just save it all. And it's very small, right? So take one of the plastic bags, put all the other plastic film in it, and when next time you go to the store, try not to forget, like I do with my reusable bags sometimes, but try to remember it, bring it in and drop it off, and they'll make sure it goes to the right place. So that's great. I'm glad a lot of folks are doing that now and taking that responsibility back onto themselves. Best thing above that is probably for plastic bags, bringing reusable to the store. I would recommend that. I try to do that, like I said, as much as possible, but not always possible. The danglers, like you said, yeah, anytime something that shouldn't go in recycling goes in recycling, it gums up the whole operation, right? Like I said, we're going to see video later. So everything's on conveyor belts, right? It's highly technological. If a hose or anything like that gets caught in there, they got to stop the whole operation. Somebody's got to dive in there and take all that stuff out, especially with the plastic bags as well. The tensile strength is quite rigid on those, so it takes a lot to rip them. So if they get caught in the machinery, then it just slows the whole process down. And we have that MRF going. It goes, think about 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. So we're always open, taking materials in, making sure they go to the right place. That's another thing I guess I'll mention. I should mention it later, but I'll do it now. People think we're the ones that recycle everything. We just collect it, put it into separate categories, and then sell it to third-party remanufacturers, somebody that's going to want it to make it into something new. We were speaking before, and Amy said she had a stumping question for me that she wouldn't reveal during our pre-interview. So I'm so curious. I want to know, what does she have?
So we're seeing this kind of a container, like
okay,
would have oatmeal in it or raisins in this instance. So where would that go?
So that's kind of like a carton, right? I couldn't see on the video that was a Sun-Maid raisin carton?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so that can go in recycling. Those are considered a carton, right? So we have two types of cartons. We have aseptic containers. An aseptic will be something like you'll see soup broth in, right? And those have 3 or 4 or 5 layers. It's plastic, it's metal, it's cardboard, and then it's something else. Something like what you showed me that's similar to maybe a milk carton. Since it's only 2 layers, we can recycle that. We're going to take that, put it into, a commodity, put it into the bale, tie it up. It's going to get very heavy. Put that aside, and somebody will take that recycle. It's much easier because something like what you showed me only has 2 layers. It has the plastic and then the cardboard in between. So it's much easier for when we sell it or give it away to somebody for them to process it. Otherwise, like I said, the soup containers, those ones, it gets really in the weeds here a little bit. If you don't know what an aseptic container is, those are usually ones that don't have a gable top. So a gable top carton, you got to think of that as mostly cardboard. So just use your best judgment. If you see something you're like, this tears easy, then it should recycle. Think of that soup container. You're not going to be able to tear that. That's some reason you'll be able to tear it. So it's more carton based than it is aseptic. Oh, so thank you.
So what about ice
cream? What was that one?
Ice cream cartons. What about ice cream cartons? Because there's been an increase in ice cream cartons since it got very warm outside.
That might be coming from my house too. As long as it's absolutely clean, sure. But that's another thing too. We don't want to have anything that's really full of stuff in there and getting sticky. So ice cream carton is very similar to a milk carton. So as long as it's good to go, put it in there and we'll recycle it for sure. Make sure it goes to the right place.
Excellent, but it cannot be composted.
No, that is correct. Yeah, I would rather it does not go in the, we don't do food composting technically, but cardboard only. If you have an old pizza box, that's great for composting. Anything that's that one material is great, but since there is plastic in it, we'd rather keep it out. If it winds up in there, it's okay. It all gets screened out in the end when the the 1/4-inch diameter screens, everything breaks down and it will get filtered out, but we prefer to have a clean stream going in so we don't have to clean it up afterwards for sure. So thank you. Great question. Great question. Do we have any questions coming in from folks? Not yet. Okay. No questions coming in. Well, maybe I'll move on to.
Yeah, I was about to say, can we share the video of, because I think a lot of people don't understand the sorting process, and I think if they understood that, they would understand why we're saying, I'm sorry, you can't do those things.
Absolutely. So I'm going to have my producer pull it up. Also my better half. Okay, so I'm unmuted now. This is, we're just showing a whole video here of the operation. So put it to the cart, it's gonna go in the truck that comes to our materials recovery facility, gets dumped on what's called the tipping floor. We're gonna get the big machinery, the backhoe there is gonna lift it up and put it into what's called a hopper. So once that goes in the hopper, all the materials, since we do single stream, it all has to go down conveyor belts and get sorted out. We sort it with both machines and humans. As you can see right here, we got all our hard workers there, a lot of taking out those soft plastics. And then we have our aluminum cans going up into the conveyor belt after that gets sorted out. So it's a lot of gravity feeding and also going on. And once it gets baled, that's it. You have a big cube of aluminum cans. That weighs about 2,500 pounds. Can't lift it by myself, but that's great stuff. Once that gets baled out, we stack it up. We wait for who we're going to sell it to go back out. And like I said, with the metal cans, that gets turned back into something new in about 6 to 8 weeks, which is really great. That's why it's my favorite recycling product, because lightweight and it gets turned back into something really quick. So I'm glad we saw that video. That's pretty cool. We have another video too of the compost operations. Do you want to see that one, Amy? Sure, she said yes. I think she's muted. Okay, great. So this is our composting facility, also located in Creedmoor. This is where you take all the brush, untreated wood as well. We'll take that and bring it down to our composting facility where it's going to get grind up and turned into mulch, right? Some of it gets turned into compost, some to mulch. I'll let the experts there figure out which one they're going to do with what. What these stacks are called, those are called windrows. And with the windrow, that's where everything just decomposes. What you see coming up there is not smoke, that is steam, because it is a thermophilic process. So we're using heat to break down all the food products and all the old scrap brush and leaves and just turn it back into fantastic new soil. We have all different grades of soil that you can choose from. Some is better for gardens. Some is better for just if you want to put by your grass, not grow any fruits and vegetables. But check it out. We have a few locations. I know we have one in San Antonio, Victoria, the one in Creedmoor, and I think one up in Georgetown. Do a lot of work with the schools too. I know we've donated a few schools. I don't know about San Marcos, but I know up in Georgetown we did. Hopefully, maybe schools will be back in session. We'll do something with them this year. But that's just the process of what we do. Taking materials that would otherwise go to a landfill and turning it into something new, which we think is really great. We divert so many millions of pounds of materials every year. It's just great. It's really good to see folks taking the effort to make sure everything goes in the right place. We can bring Amy back up, unmute her. Okay, that's great. So yeah, that's the operation there. Like I said, it goes about 18 hours a day, and there's trucks running all the time bringing things in, but it's better when that stuff comes in clean. So we just want to reiterate to put the right things in. I guess I'll go and do my tutorial now, and then we'll see if any questions come up after that. All right. Hold tight, Amy. We got some more video slides coming up. Here we go. Oh, this looks good. I like that. So we're going to talk about recycling and trash, right? Also known as landfill. So I like to say before you go to the cart, you better know before you throw, right? And sometimes we send our kids out to do it, so make sure they know too, right? There's always somebody gets the job in the house where they're going to be the one throwing out the trash or the recycling. Make sure they know what to do. I bet Amy's job is that at her house, because I know it isn't mine. Okay, here we're going to we do single stream recycling. That means everything that is recycled goes into one can. So paper products at first, office paper, newspaper, magazine, envelopes. Even if they have that little window on it, put the envelopes in the recycling. That all gets sorted out. Office paper, any type of paper, we're going to make sure that goes right in the recycling can. As you notice, there's no bag in my recycle bin because we do not want to bag our recyclables. They have to be loose in that cart before it goes to the curb. Also cardboard and boxboard, like we were talking about before, Amazon, that's big now. A lot of shipping boxes coming out. Food boxes, what do I have here? Like Raisin Bran, whatever you eat, those food boxes. Just make sure that those go right in your recycle cart. And I have a little tip for even the food boxes. Keep going forward on that. You're going to want to break it down. When it comes to your cardboard boxes or any type of boxes, break them down and make them flat, right? That's going to save you a lot of room in your cart. If you try to put 3 or 4 boxes in, by the time your 2 weeks is up, you're going to have no room for anything else. Make sure you flatten all those boxes, slide them into the side of your cart. You're going to save a lot of room. I have another video I'm working on where I'm going to talk about crushing my aluminum cans because you can really save a lot of room with that as well. Okay, single stream, we talked about paper and cardboard. Now we're going to go on to our plastics. Again, we only want to put hard plastics in for our recycling. Some examples here: food containers, water bottles, spray detergents, also metal. You have tin cans, soda cans, cat food cans, tomato cans, and also, which is great, is that we take glass still. A lot of folks stop taking glass for whatever reason, and we could probably talk about that with Amy, but there's a reason that other recyclers stop taking glass. We still take it though, so make sure it goes in your cart, empty and clean. That's what I said. Think green, keep it empty and clean. Again, put it loose in your cart and make sure that it all goes into the right spot. We'll make sure we recycle it. We already talked about this, but it doesn't hurt to say it 3 or 4 more times. Here we go. What do we see a lot of? Pizza boxes, plastic bags, Ziploc bags, chip bags, straws. Again, one of the plastic, the hangers, styrofoam. Now somebody says, why do you put the aluminum foil there? Aluminum foil is great if you never use it on food, but if I make my enchiladas with that, it's going to be full of cheese and not very good for recycling. So for the most part, if your tin foil was just on something and totally clean, throw it in. Otherwise, we want to put that in the trash, right? And before we go to the next one, I have my little trick I say. So this is for the kids. We did work with a couple of schools down there in San Marcos. So when it comes to soft plastics, if you can smash it, you can trash it. But we can also bring it to the stores that recover it, right? But it's anything soft plastic film. It's stretchy, it's lightweight, it makes that sound. We're going to make sure we just throw it out because we don't want that coming up the works. All right, the last one we're going to go over, landfill items. Trash, garbage, waste, whatever you want to call it, stuff that can't be recycled, right? Talked about all the soft plastics. We got all these other items here. You don't want to put your textiles in. You could put regular light bulbs, not fluorescent. That's a hazardous waste, technically, fluorescent. You don't want to put that in. Styrofoam is a big one. I bet when Amy comes back, we'll talk about, I see styrofoam all the time because folks think you're recycling that. You can't, not here, not now, not probably in the future. So throw those in the trash and you'll be all set. Oh, this is great. Let's do this while we're here. Not sure where to put an item. We have a great utility out there. It's called Waste Wizard. So what you do is you see the website there. I'm going to type something in here. Let's make that full screen so we can see everything that's going on. Here we go. So I'm going to type in some stuff. You go to www. You got to hit the next button there. Oh, Texas Disposal / Waste Wizard. The title's there, .com/Waste Wizard. Or what I usually do, I just type in what I'm going to find in Google or any other search engine. That's easier. That's the old folks way, right? So there's a little game on there too, a waste sorting game, but you also have a what goes where button. So I go there, we click the next button so I can type in the next thing. Okay, what am I going to do? Egg cartons. Okay, there's different types of egg cartons though, right? Let me see, go to the first one. Paper egg carton. Oh, right there. I don't even have to remember. It goes right in my recycling cart. Fantastic. All right, let's see what else can I put in. Whoops. I guess I was going to put in another egg carton, but we'll exit out of that right now. Exit out. Get it in a little egg joke there, folks. All right, let's bring Amy back up if we can. And we'll talk a little bit more about any parting words or see if we have any comments coming up. We do have some comments. Great. Okay. Bear with us, folks. It's our first one. We're just working on all the technical stuff here. So there's Amy. She's back. We didn't lose her. Hello, Amy. Can you hear me again? Can I hear you?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, fantastic. There's been a lot of talk. Ooh, bunch of comments coming up. Excellent. Talk lately about glass and why other folks don't take glass. And I know one of the reasons is it breaks a lot, it's heavy, and the value is not that much for haulers to take it away. For us, what we're doing with it, we actually started a concrete processing plant, and in fact, recycled old glass goes into concrete. So we're trying to keep everything really local. Again, with the composting and everything, all that is staying really close into town. So any glass that came from San Marcos is getting put into that concrete and getting used within like 20, 30 miles because you can't send concrete too far. Actually, when it's processed, it has to stay close to home because if you ever see one of those big trucks with the mixers on the back, they have to keep moving. So I think the most you can go is about 80 miles with a concrete truck. So keeping everything local, I think that's the smart way for the future is to just keep everything close. All right, we have some comments.
Wait, but I have a question.
Yes.
What about pane glass? Because we've been finding some pane glass in those recycle carts.
Ooh, no, we don't want to do that. That can be dangerous for the workers, first of all, or anybody that's near. God forbid if they're doing a side load truck and that glass flies out, somebody's going to get hurt. So thank you, Amy. Yeah, you want to keep in mind when you're throwing, disposing of anything in your residence, it's residential waste, right? That's construction debris. You don't want to throw in a big pane of glass. You don't want to throw a bicycle into your recycling cart. Technically, it's recyclable, but you don't want to throw it in. That's going to be a special pickup. You want to do that on bulk pickup days. And sometimes on bulk pickup, we'll take things if we see them out, a nice bicycle, and we'll take it out and make sure it gets put in the right place. So good question. Yeah, definitely don't put a big piece of pane glass in there. That's just dangerous and not good for anybody. One, glass bottles, Topo Chico, whatever you drink your beers in, all that good stuff. That's the kind of glass we want to keep. Oh, okay, we got some good questions. I see them up there. Are we going to bring them up on screen? Let's see. What does it say? It says, why can't pizza boxes be recycled? Oh, good question. There's been a little bit of debate about this recently. In fact, there was on the East Coast, somebody did a study about the recyclability of pizza boxes. The reason we don't take it is because usually there's a lot of grease or cheese left in it, or some leftover pizza. If you know some college students, they make a mess of that stuff, and it really can't be recycled. Now, as I'm saying it, that's what the standard is across the country. Nobody takes pizza boxes. That might change, sometimes things change, so we'll see. But as of right now, we don't want to put the pizza boxes in, one, because of the contamination with the food. And when that gets processed, if we have the cheese and stuff packed with everything else, it's going to create an invitation for rodents or other pests to come in. We want our stuff as clean as possible because it does need to get stored for a little bit before it gets sent out. So you don't want that sitting around. We got another one here. What do we got? What does it say? I can't read. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to go. I'd like to compost food, but it makes a mess in my bin. Is there a container I could put it into? Okay, great. Yes. Oh, I wish I had one with me. So if you go to any grocery store, in the aisle where they sell trash bags, they also sell compostable bags. You want to make sure that it definitely says compostable bag on it. They're usually green, and the certification will say, it'll have a number on it, 6400. So 6400 is the certification number from the, I'll get to technical details, but just make sure it says compostable. And we compost anything that says compostable in an industrial facility, we will take. A place like Juice Land, if you have one down there, all their cups are compostable. It doesn't just have to be food scraps. We could take anything that's industrial compostable. I have one person that's asking a lot of questions, and I like that one with the caps, with the water bottle. Put that one on. So water bottles, caps on or off? Great question. The standard in the industry now is to keep the caps on, but what you want to do is squeeze the bottle first, put the cap back on, and then throw it out because you're going to save some space, and then when it gets crushed, it's not going to pop that cap off. So right now, everybody's saying to keep that cap on. All right. Heather. All right. Heather's got all the questions. If you want to read those to me, I just have to go like that to see it. So I need to clean my container before it's like, oh, absolutely. You want to have things clean. Don't go crazy. I don't want you to waste a bunch of good water, trying to get peanut butter out of a jar. But if you have one of those spray hoses on your sink, I find that to be the best. Just give it a big, quick rinse. Make sure most of the material is gone. Again, the standard and the rule of thumb for the industry is no more than a teaspoon of liquid or food residue should be in that container. So yeah, great question. You definitely want to keep it clean. Heather, I love all your questions. What does the number on the bottom of the recycling bin mean? On the bottom of our containers, right? We have a plastic bottle or something like that, and there'll be what we call the chasing arrows, which looks like a recycling symbol. It's even on our plastic bags here. So a lot of folks ask, well, if it has that recycle symbol, doesn't it mean it's recyclable? It's technically not a recycling symbol. It's a plastic resin ID number. And this is for manufacturers to know what type of plastic something's made out of. And unfortunately, not everything with that number means that it's recyclable. We'll say we'll take 1 through 7s, but something like we were talking about before, PVC pipe is, I believe, a number 4, which we'll take in a different form, but we're not going to take it in that bigger, larger form because we don't want that. All right. We had some more. Can you tell me which grades of glass are accepted and why? So it's the type of glass that you would get in a grocery store or have anything to drink or eat from, that type of glass. A glass jar, a glass bottle that you drank from, those types of glass. Definitely not glass from a window pane. Trying to think of other types of glass out there. Car windows. Yep, we want to take the ones that only had food products in it to begin with. So that's great. We got another one. Can you move that up a bit so I can see? There we go. Confirm. Ice cream containers in recycle or compost. You're going to want to recycle. Keep them clean. Put them in recycle for sure. Thanks for all the questions. That's great. I guess we can bring Amy up and be done with this. But if anybody ever has any more questions, connect with us on Facebook. I put my Facebook thing up there. I'm not going to put out my personal email, but write questions. If you have other people that have questions, please send them out, and we'll make sure. We've got our website up there. I want to thank Amy Kerwin from the City of San Marcos for joining us tonight. We'll keep it at a nice tight half an hour. I think we covered everything. Anything else you can think of, Amy? You want to send out to the folks?
No, there's always tiny tweaks. So when you talk about the cereal box, you need to tell people to take that plastic bag out.
That is true.
Because
Yep.
we've been finding plastic bags in those cereal boxes as well.
Yep. We got to look at the details, folks,
Definitely details.
Yep.
And also, we really want to encourage people to recycle all their cardboard, because while we mentioned there was a shortage of aluminum, there's also a shortage of what's called OCC, which is that cardboard boxes. So make sure you're recycling all of those as well.
Yep. That's got to be my second favorite recyclable, because I could turn back into a cardboard box too itself. I've been to a recycling plant up in New York where they did the cardboard. It's a really fantastic process. How they just pulp it all, mix it with water, and turn it back into cardboard or paper pretty quick. So those are my favorite types that get turned back into something useful. Well, I guess we'll just end it for now. This was our first one. I'm hoping to do more with other municipalities, or we could do one next year, Amy. Hopefully when schools are back in session, I'll be doing some of this with schools. But thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it, and good luck. Please, anybody that wants to reach out, we're here for you, okay? Signing off, this is Greg Beal at Texas Disposal. I'll see you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great night.